up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of Straight Talk with Trevor.
Because the ladies from Pour Your Heart Out
no
will
topic
be over
is
here
off
to
limits.
join the panel.
Plus, but it's a must, you gon' respect this. Plus, your nuts will touch the dust, you try to check this. You ain't
The
insane.
MMA brothers, Bones and Zay, have pre and post shows to the MMA shows, and I am your host, Mr. Straight Talk, the man with the greatest beard on YouTube. Oh, I love throwing that in there. Real quick, I am back on Facebook. I guess they took me out of jail. I was able to connect the channel back. Those of you on Facebook, make sure and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Man Talk Monday. This is the flagship show of the Straight Talk Society. This is the show that you're going to get all your, drama topics. This is a show that you may get your arguments. This is a show where we're going to talk about not one specific thing, but we dabble around the world of pop culture and the men just banter about it. So that's what this show is. But if this show isn't for you, and I don't know why it wouldn't be, but we also have other shows. The highly acclaimed Tape Fist Politics, Venkat, Mike, MD, and Ricardo do such a fantastic job with that. That's every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Hey, if that doesn't fancy your boat, then be sure to tune into Wrestling with Reality. Today we have the return of Straight Talk Therapy Sessions with the one and only Dr. Mia. So y'all be sure and tune into that. So tonight we have a fantastic show tonight, the Straight Talk Society. We will not go over that 2.5 hour mark. So Mike, you ain't got no shirt on, right?
I never have clothes on, bro.
But I'm saying you like right on the like crazy.
My bad. I don't like clothes, bro. Anybody that knows me, my
crazy.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Turn snack time into fun time. The great mouth-watering flavors in one convenient pack. Great taste and hard to resist. All natural flavored mouth-watering. New great taste roll. The new champion of curable flavors. Eat.
Yeah, man, take my glory when me creating myself and the Jesus.
May you mash up this food,
Yeah, about to have me some Dr. What the What the heck? What the heck? I had my mouth. What the
Do you really believe that garbage?
It's not about believing, it's a matter of fact.
So you believe.
Let us be aware that while they preach the supremacy of the state, declare its omnipotence over individual man, and predict its eventual domination of all peoples on the earth, they are the focus of evil in the modern world. It was C.S. Lewis who in his unforgettable screw tape letters wrote, "The greatest evil is not done now in those sordid dens of crime that Dickens loved to paint. It is not even done in concentration camps and labor camps. In those we see its final result, but it is conceived and ordered, moved, seconded, carried, and minuted in clear, carpeted, warmed, and well-lighted offices by quiet men with white collars and cut fingernails and smooth-shaven cheeks who do not need to raise their voice. But because these quiet men do not raise their voices, because they sometimes speak in soothing tones of brotherhood and peace, because like other dictators before them, they're always making their final territorial demand, some would have us accept them at their word and accommodate ourselves to their aggressive impulses. But if history teaches anything, it teaches that simple-minded appeasement or wishful thinking about our adversaries is folly. It means the betrayal of our past, the squandering of our freedom. So I urge you to speak out against those who would place the United States in a position of military and moral inferiority. You know, I've always believed that old Screwtape reserved his best efforts for those of you in the church. So in your discussions of the nuclear freeze proposals, I urge you to beware the temptation of pride, the temptation of blithely declaring yourselves above it all, and label both sides equally at fault, to ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire, to simply call the arms race a giant misunderstanding, and thereby remove yourself from the struggle between right and wrong and good and evil.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
You're full of shit.
Alright, thank you.
No, shush. Shush.
In any country, prison is where society sends its failures. But in this country, society itself is failing.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
We won the evangelicals. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
Niggas, you crazy.
Grab him by the pussy.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Stay shut your mouth. Because you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I did. Hold it. Tough guy. I'm not afraid of physical. Hold it. Don't sit there and tell me I'm not.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. Stand back and stand by with your shut up.
Last thing was Olivia Gondak. It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home. Thank you very much.
You gotta come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Okay. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. We now have a gun on every table. We're ready to start shooting.
By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
Sarcastic.
That was...
Even though they're trying to impeach the son of a bitch. Can you believe that? You believe that? That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
If I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one other.
I don't want reality. I'm asking the question: which one is better? That's exactly what it is.
Got it on tape. What a stupid son of a bitch.
I don't don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse.
How stupid are these politicians to allow this to happen?
All right. Once again, another Tape Fist Tuesday. This is Venkat, and I'm on the panel with the panel, the most dangerous panel, political panel. We got MD. What's up, MD? MD? Uh-oh. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Hey, Ricardo, can you hear me?
I can hear you quite well, sir.
I guess MD's just not here then, I guess. All right, so we'll come back to MD. How you doing, Ricardo?
Quite well.
My bad. Sorry. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. Peace, peace, y'all. Peace.
I thought I was messing up like last week.
No, I was switching my audio. That's my fault.
All right, no problem. No problem. This is episode 8 tonight on Tape Fist Politics. And we got a lot to go on, a lot to cover tonight. But in particular, we're going to be looking at the chaos that's going on Capitol Hill with the search and the efforts to try to get a new House Speaker. So before we get into it, let's just go into the lead story.
This morning, efforts to find a new House Speaker continue as Congress heads into its 13th day without one. Over the weekend, Ohio Representative Jim Jordan failed to receive the necessary 217 votes to secure his nomination as the next Speaker. As of last Friday, more than 50 Republicans still oppose supporting him.
The drama on Capitol Hill. House Republicans are expected to hold a candidate forum tomorrow as a number of new names are now in the mix to be the next Speaker of the House. ABC's M. Wynn is joining us now from Capitol Hill with the latest. M, good morning. What's next here?
Good morning, Whit. Yeah, a free-for-all race for Speaker is heating up right now. A much larger group of House Republicans have just announced they're interested in the top job after the firebrand conservative Jim Jordan is now forced out of the race by his GOP colleagues who voted against his continued bid for Speaker Friday. That secret ballot coming after his third failed attempt to get elected.
The House Speaker showdown, the battle for the gavel, is entering a new phase. At least 9 Republicans have now announced their intentions to run for the post. The GOP holding a candidate forum tomorrow as they try to find someone they all can agree on. And the House has remained without a speaker for more than 2 weeks. ABC's M. Wynn on Capitol Hill tonight.
Tonight, at least 9 Republicans are now vying to be the Speaker of the House, setting the stage for a new candidate forum tomorrow. Among the contenders, Byron Donalds of Florida, retired Marine Corps Lieutenant General Jack Bergman of Michigan, and Majority Whip Tom Emmer of Minnesota, who's backed by ousted Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
We need to get him elected this week and move on.
While Emmer is seen as the current frontrunner, the number 3 House Republican is disliked by Donald Trump's congressional allies for voting to uphold President Biden's 2020 electoral victory. On Friday, House Republicans dropped Jim Jordan of Ohio as the nominee in a secret ballot after his 3 failed attempts to get elected.
He's out.
What do you think?
He's out.
The House is paralyzed without a speaker for 19 days now, unable to pass President Biden's $100 billion foreign aid package for Israel and Ukraine, and with a looming government shutdown next month.
If we don't have a Speaker of the House, we can't govern.
And which, after the candidate forum tomorrow night, Republicans plan to hold a secret ballot vote Tuesday in hopes of actually nominating a new speaker. A House floor vote could come as early as that afternoon.
Happening later this morning, House Republicans are holding a meeting to select a new House Speaker candidate.
All right, there are 8 GOP hopefuls now in the running for the Republican nomination. It has been 3 weeks and 3 votes since Republicans ousted now former Speaker McCarthy, who says lawmakers should not be allowed to recess until a speaker is named. The party, though, still not presenting a candidate with enough support to take the gavel. Congress cannot govern without a speaker at the helm. That impedes any potential additional aid to Israel or Ukraine. And also, we are now 24 days away from a government shutdown.
Hey, so we now have yet another Republican nominee for Speaker. Tom Emmer has just won the Republican nomination. And now it sounds like what Republicans are doing is they're doing yet another vote to see who can vote for Emmer on the floor. So it was who wanted him to be the nominee and then who could back him on the floor. This is kind of what we saw Jim Jordan do the other week, trying to get a sense of his support. And then after that, meeting up with the holdout members and seeing if he can sort of sway them one way or the other. Obviously, Jim Jordan was not able to get to that magic number of 217. And of course, it's a question now whether Tom Emmer will. We know that he does have support across the conference from some of those more moderate members to some of those more hardline conservatives. But at this point, it really only takes 5 members to block anyone from becoming the speaker. And so we will have to see if those 5 exist in some capacity. And if Emmer can't get it, what comes next? You also saw Mike Johnson, who's currently the Republican conference vice chair, do quite well in the room when it came to nominations. But I think at this point, a lot of members have fatigue. A lot of them have been telling us how tired they are and how much they just want to wrap the speaker vote up this week. So unclear whether we'll see a floor vote today. But at this point, we can say that Tom Emmer is going to be the nominee going forward.
Right now, this buffoonery, this chaos is really hurting their chances, for the upcoming election cycle. And if Trump doesn't look like that he has some kind of hold on what's happening and he's not seeing the writing on the wall, it could hurt his presidential aspirations also. So I think you get to the law of diminishing returns, and half the battle is showing up. So I think Tom's showing up here at the end might actually serve to his benefit because there's desperation in the conference.
Fascinating. I just wonder what impact Donald Trump has at all. I mean, he endorsed Jim Jordan, and boy, that didn't last very long. And how much of the conference answers to him.
Okay, so there we have a little briefing on the drama that's been going on in the House, looking for a House Speaker. So I'll go to the panel. We'll start with MD. What are our thoughts on the constant struggle to find a new House Speaker?
Yeah, man, the Republican Party unraveling, amongst our very eyes, man. And hell, all that what you just played was null and void because Tom Emmer he dropped out. So all that don't even make sense. You know what I mean? So
I know. I mean, you can't keep up with it. It's just like it just keeps. Oh Lord.
Yeah. So,
Go ahead,
So yeah, you're absolutely right, man. It's unraveling. Now this can play out 2 ways. Either we could see the total annihilation of the GOP as having any type of pull amongst the people, or we can see this galvanizing. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. We can see this galvanize the MAGA populace even more as to why they feel as we should have this America First Freedom Caucus type establishment within the House and Senate. it could go one or two ways. As of right now, I'm leaning more toward the whole Republican Party unraveling because you just had Jim Jordan, the person that stood on his square when the whole J6 and the stop the steal thing happened. You know, he stood up for it and he still lost. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough, man. It's tough. I always continue to say it. Conservatism is dying. And I'll wrap up with that.
It's hard for me to see a rallying cry from incompetence. Like, how can you rally with incompetence? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Ricardo?
It's another Kobaki theater playing out right in front of the American public's eyes. It's just like this. This is what, going into the third week now, we still cannot pick the third most covenant position in all of the United States of America. What are we doing? This is just dragging. It's getting ridiculous, and you're heading into an election year, and you have a looming government shutdown that's more than likely going to happen. I pray to God it doesn't, but so far, because of the class that came in for the conservative side, cannot get their act together. We're looking like this is going to be playing out. Look, the sad part about all of this is the next House Speaker will more than likely inherit a mountain of work that will threaten the stability of the speakership before it even begins. So whosoever gets this covenant job will have a whole heap of work and a whole bunch of things that's going to be hitting them left, right, and center, whosoever it is. I just hope they pick a competent person, not just a populist one, but a competent person that knows what they're doing. That's all I ask. I don't want somebody that's just going to be in there, that's just going to be a free, willy-nilly, I'm going to go along with the MAGA group, or I'm going to go along with this group. Know how to be, that have a spine. That's all I care about at this point. The country is too more so important to me than all y'all stupid hidden agendas that you have going on. Again, politics is very corrupted, but put the country first. That's all I ask. Because at this point, who are they? If what's name dropped out today, then who are they going to pick next? And I it's getting very stale at this point. Just pick somebody. That's all I ask.
So, I mean, their MO, the Republican Party in general, especially this modern, current time period with the Republican Party, we don't see that. We don't see, like, okay, let's make some practical, reasonable, steady, balanced decisions. It's always way out left field, way out, just out there, just who is the nuttiest, who is the most polarizing. And that's what politics has been for the right. That's what politics has been for the GOP. It's just the most sensational, the most, out there candidates that really cannot move the middle or parts of the left that are, kind of like right-leaning people. You'll never get those people because the party's just bonkers with these weird candidates, and specifically with the MAGA Republicans, because they essentially have been costing Republicans ample opportunities in the last several years, especially the 2022 midterm. Right. They've cost them since Donald Trump in 2016 won, that was it. Every year after that, every little election that happened that was centered around him, endorsements and whatnot, in large part, he's been losing and has lost. So they haven't done much winning at all, if any. And in the process, the people that they're putting in are so incompetent. And now the incompetency is being on full display. And, we're going to get into some things in the show, but, you can lie and manipulate and play the political theater and do all that nonsense. But at a certain point, it's going to catch up, and there's going to be a price to pay. So you may get away with it to, a few times, but at a certain point, it's going to catch up. And in politics, you start to get a stink on you. So that's one of the things that was told to Obama. Like he said, well, I'm too young. Maybe I should put in a few more years in the Senate and then try to make a run. They're like, hey, you do that, you're gonna mess your whole chances up because you're building a record and you're making people know who you are too much, and you could have all this negative and positive and just go straight full into it without, much of that baggage that most politicians earn over a period of time. So I don't know. We got to see what happens, but it's very sad right now.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. That package deal that Biden want to push out, that was already passed by the Senate, correct?
I believe so. I believe I think this was just prior to or just on the precipice of the bombings or the attacks that weekend.
Right.
So I think what he did was just to see if he could speed roll it quickly. They all were in the concession. Both sides were like, okay, well, whatever, just, or rather he went to them and they were like, well, we'll see what happens kind of thing. Because who is going to refuse to send out aid to Israel at this point? They can't, neither side can afford to lose that ally in Israel. So I guess in his way, it was like, okay, well, this is going to be one of the one-ups I could get everybody on my side to do the concession. But with that being stated, you still have Mr. Hey, I'm over here, Ukraine. Like, you need to hurry up and watch out for us because we still over here and Russia's still attacking us. But the media is not focusing on that right now. The media is like, as you know, the media is very fickle. They went straight to Israel and Hamas, and this is where we're at.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to mention that because, like I said, these bills gonna start getting bogged down, and like I said, with what's going on internationally right now, they gonna be between a rock and a hard place. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Hey, but I guess whichever side you want to look at it as, it may be a positive for Byron Donalds because he still got a shot. So who knows? We'll see.
We'll see. But I mean, again, if who is still not joining the debates, is it fair for him to still, join on at this point? I mean, you still, it's part of your resume. You have to do debates. You have to give the American people a taste of, even though you've done it before, we still want to see what you're capable of doing. Because from what I've heard last night, he went on a rampage and he was so incoherent and all over the place beyond senile. And he was just about this close to how Biden speaks, according to a couple of observers. This is coming from the conservative side, by the way, hard-winging conservatives that were complaining on media TV this morning, saying, what are you talking about? Like, you just kept going on. You not only you misplaced and said the wrong thing about a couple of leaders, I think one from Turkey and the other from another country, mixed them up. Yeah. And like, what are you talking about? So his age is beginning to show. So whether he thinks the MAGA crowd is going to push him to get into the top covenant role and you not doing your actual resume building, doing the actual debates, I don't know if that's going to help him. To be perfectly honest, I did call this from last year. I'm like, your age is going to eventually show up for you. So you using the Biden, what did they call him? Brandon and all this crap. That eventually is going to catch on to you because you're within the same age bracket as he is. Even though you think you're younger, you're still in the age group that he is in. So we'll see. I don't know. It's kind of toss up there for me, MD.
Yeah, and Trump, he's just like buying time and staying away from those debates. Because I mean, think about it. You're running on that record. All this mess, all the litigation that's on his tail right now, all the issues and the problems with how he handled COVID, how the last year just fell apart. There's a lot that he's running away from. So if he can ride the wave of the MAGA support that's keeping his lead up there, in his mind, he's like, okay, that's less time I have to say something, do a gaffe, so on and so forth. But, in reality, a guy that's been indicted 4 times, facing major jail time, and quite frankly, people never thought that he would get anything, but it's very reasonable that he's going to have something to answer for with these trials. Something's going to stick somewhere because it's coming from all angles. So he needs to get on that stage. He needs to explain and define, first of all, what is his purpose? What does he plan to do? How is he going to make things better? Because since 2016 up to now, you just see, first of all, since Donald Trump took office, we've had a huge spike in hate crimes. And that didn't come out of the blue. His campaign started with hate. So we're saying that if he gets prosecuted, if he gets any type of jail time or anything, go to prison or whatever, that it's just going to rip the country apart and we're going to have all these problems. But I mean, the president sets the tone for the country, and his tone he has to answer for. So he needs to get on that stage and he needs to explain to himself. He needs to explain to people that may have been supporters at one time and dropped off. And there are plenty of them that did that. So it'll be interesting to see if at some point he'll break down and enter the debates.
Do you see that happening, MD? Because at this particular point, I'm willing to give him an opportunity to, present his case to me as an independent voter. If you're going to wing it by saying that you're not going to do the debates, that's a problem for me. You don't get special, you don't get a special treatment because you were once president. You still have to go out there and you still have to show me your resume. And as an independent voter, if he's not willing to do that and just coast through, that's not going to buy it for me. And I feel like other independent voters are going to tell him the same thing. Either you show up at the debates like Christie and everybody else is saying, show them, we know how you are already. You see, that's the thing. We know how he is. But at the same length and breath, because you have litigation cases, does not exclude you from doing your actual, your due diligence of doing your debates. And if you can't do that, and you're going to wait until the last minute to show up at one debate, I'm sorry, but you need to be kicked out. Fair and square. That's how I look at it.
Hey, I agree, man. I agree. But like I said, the populace that is MAGA, and according to, all the polls and the data that's beginning put out, that's why he, I'm going off of what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's saying that, he really doesn't need to debate because in his eyes, he a clear shot anyway.
You got it.
And yeah. I mean, but you can say that on both sides. You know what I mean? And me personally, I would argue that it's even worse on the Democratic side because it's the establishment of the DNC,
right?
That's not allowing to debates on that side. So
right.
It's basically saying, hey, look, Biden is our guy. I don't care what nobody else say. That's who we going behind. So therefore, we're not even going to have no debate.
They're not even going to entertain
to me. That's worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. I can't even argue with that with MD. I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. We got two old white guys, and that's the choice right there. We're running back 2020, and it's like, wow. It's no need to run back 2020, but I don't know. I mean, Donald Trump. I just don't know. Okay, so he's the guy that's always said how, all these polls, I don't believe in these polls because usually it's a negative poll. When he was running against Hillary, it was a lot of polls saying how Hillary was pretty much guaranteed to win. And after the election, he pointed to those polls being nonsense and whatnot. But now he's holding these particular polls to his chest. And I just find the irony in that because, at a certain point right now, we feel like, oh, Biden is not getting the proper press and push because a lot of people feel he's too old, he's too problematic for the ticket. And it's like he's just already doing a victory lap. And a lot can change, and I just don't think he's coming from a position of power. I don't care how people try to spin this. You can't have all these lawsuits and possible jail time you're facing and think that that's a position of strength. To try to sell himself as the modern day Mandela, it's just crazy, man. Like it's crazy to me.
But the part is that I've encountered a lot of MAGA people on a daily basis, and their prime conversational piece is that he hasn't been charged with anything, so therefore he should be excused. And I'm saying to myself, what are you talking about? There is literally a mounting case. In fact, Cohen I believe was one of the few people that testified against him today, if not
yes.
Yeah. So if Cohen was the closest within his circle, was his actual in fact lawyer, if not probably his closest confidant, because he has to speak to someone to then preside or tell him what to do in terms of litigation wise. If he's willing to testify as much as the other people that were accosted not too long ago, who's to say who's not? I'm waiting to see who's going to turn next. Because again, I call this Kobaki Theater. I'm waiting to see who's going to win, who's be willing to take the plea deal and turn against him. Because as soon as they start turning, is when you're going to see the eventual. Oh, I didn't. Because he can't handle certain things, so he starts doing this heel going off left, right, and center over nonsense. So I'm waiting for all of that to play out in a way, and I'm like Mike, where I'm like burn down the establishment because I want to see it just crumble and then start back from scratch. But at the other side of me is like, that is so dangerous because we've seen how it played out, and they're going after most of these J6 people, thank God, but I mean these spineless people that like McCarthy and the rest of them that were in is that will say, oh no, this is an abomination, it goes against the Constitution. Yet you're the same one that showed up at Mar-a-Lago and pictures and doing photo ops when you know goddamn well no one, if you stood for the Constitution, would ever allow these people or him in general to get away with that. That's just, for me, I can't look past that. That's still an election issue for me. And whosoever was saying, oh, but we should let him, like the DeSantis and crew, I still haven't forgiven them either. We can't go after him. Why not? He's not above the law. If Queen Elizabeth was still alive and she broke the law, we would have said the same damn thing too. You are not above the law. You should be prosecuted. No one should get that on preamble. In fact, that was put in the Constitution for that same reason. The president should never get an exclusion where you can kill somebody, something that immoral, and then get away with it. No. If he is guilty, and if the MAGA crowd is saying, oh well, he hasn't been charged with anything and da. No. Then once he's charged, then I want to hear what everybody else has to say, because at that particular point, I don't want to hear the BS.
Well, I was gonna say real quick, that's part of the condition of these plea deals that's coming out, that they are obligated to testify against these other co-conspirators. That include Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they really ain't got much of a choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unless they back out of their plea deal, which they won't, because the plea deals are sweet. I seen Jenna Ellis. She played a beautiful rendition of white woman.
So before we go into that, MD, we'll go to the next segment, in the news segment. But is there anything else that we wanted to add on to the Republican Speaker House chaos chase for whatever? Anything else?
No, that's it, man. Hey, like I said, I predict the shutdown. I think it's gonna happen. I don't see nothing that can alleviate the pressure at this point.
So do you think by the end of this week we'll have a House Speaker?
No. I'm saying this: the government will be shut down come next month. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So close to Thanksgiving and heading into the prime holiday that this country usually celebrates most. I mean, they got to get it together though. This is just come on. This is just what we're supposed to be, the beacon of hope and resilience to other nations looking to us for leadership, and this is what we're doing. Like, we're acting like school kids that can't figure out the most thing. Are you
so there should be a price to pay for something like this, and that's squarely on the Republicans' porch. The thing is that voters seem to have bad memory, right?
You do.
And I mean, my God, look how we look at George Bush right now. This guy's painting, and all of a sudden he's Gandhi. I mean, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. But so the memory for voters and non-voters especially is like just really bad. So it'll be interesting to see. The election is about a year out.
Yep.
And if government shutdown happens, I'm sure the families that are connected to government workers and whatnot, they're really going to feel it. So they're going to really know and remember that. But it'll be interesting to see how the general. I mean, look how we handle.
I disagree, Venkat. I disagree.
Okay, go ahead.
I disagree for the same reason that you tout every week, talking about corruption and special interests in the government. You got something in the House of Representatives. They call them the five families, right? And they all clicked up. Emmer and McCarthy was part of a family. You had Jim Jordan part of a family. That's the reason all of this stuff is going on. They run the House of Representatives like the Godfather, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you got all these different cliques that got all these different ideologies and agendas. And if they vote on one, they was talking about Emmer earlier in the closed door voting. He had almost 30 people that voted against him. So clearly he wasn't gonna win.
Nope.
A vote. And you know what I'm saying? So it was clear. What's gonna end up happening is, like I said, you got, and that's why I said Byron Donald still may have a chance. Even though I'm taking into account his age, he's younger. So them white people in Congress can mold and shape him how they want to do. You know what I mean? So he may have a chance still. Will they go for him? I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know.
I don't know either, man. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. All right, so we're gonna go into in the news, what's going on in political news segment. Be right back.
Former Trump legal advisor Jenna Ellis is taking a plea deal in connection with the election interference investigation out of Georgia. She's pleading out to one charge of aiding and abetting false statements and writings. And moments ago, she addressed the court. Let's play that.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to address the court. As an attorney who is also a Christian, I take my responsibilities as a lawyer very seriously, and I endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all of my dealings. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, I believed that challenging the results on behalf of President Trump should be pursued in a just and legal way. I endeavored to represent my client to the best of my ability. I relied on others, including lawyers with many more years of experience than I, to provide me with true and reliable information, especially since my role involved speaking to the media and to legislators in various states. What I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse. For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado bar who censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia. Thank you.
And then thank you, Ms. Ellis.
All right, so joining us now with more analysis is CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. I mean, I don't know if I've heard anyone kind of openly say, I made a mistake. Anyone who's sort of been caught up in this Donald Trump stuff. And she mentioned being censured in Colorado. She was, and that was for essentially lying on, she was on Newsmax. She said that, that Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia combined, that we know that the election was stolen from President Trump, and we can prove that. And there was countless lawsuits, and none of that was ever proven. And obviously in Colorado, they concluded that she knew better. So what's your reaction to the plea deal?
We have now, in short order, seen 3 of the former president's former attorneys plead guilty. And there's no motivation to accepting a plea deal like looking to the left side, looking to the right side, and seeing that people you worked with are now taking these deals. I think ultimately this is not good for the former president. When you have 3 of your counsels pleading guilty to criminal violations, that becomes more complicated, to say the least. I think Trump wanted a preview of Fani Willis's cases. And now that these plea deals are happening, these cases won't go to trial. He won't see that preview. And so I think that this is good news for the prosecution, and it has to feel rather ominous for the former president.
All right, there we go. Deal or no deal. What do we think about this this plea deal here, Ricardo?
You just, like I said in the chat, it's just freaking rich when you have this woman pulling the crying white woman tears. I'm a Christian with more.
Went right to that Christian talk.
Right. Once I hear that, I immediately know, yeah, you're full of it. It is just very telling. I was just about to write that in the chat that for Trump, I would literally be mortified at this point, because if they're all turning, it means that there's something in the water. And at this particular point, what are you going to do? Because like I said, I'm willing to see how this is going to pan out. From what I've gathered, his lawyers were saying something to the effect, and I thought this was so hilarious too when I heard this. Because COVID is still going on, we should not have a trial, but nobody's wearing a mask. So what is your excuse here? Because if he was really, really terrified of COVID, you'll be putting on a mask, right? But that's your excuse to say that there shouldn't be a trial is because COVID is still going on and anybody could catch it. Please sit down somewhere and have several seats. This is beyond.
Your boy desperate, man. He's desperate.
And that's what I'm willing to see how it's like playing out like a soap opera that it's like never ending. And I love it. I want this, like Mike said it best. Just let the whole establishment, do you want to drain the swamp? You want to do all of that? Let the whole establishment burn down, because I'm willing to see how they're willing to turn one by one, each with their plea deal. Because if they're all willing to turn, it's very telling. And I am just willing to see at this point, what is it that you're gonna pull? What hat trick are you willing to pull out your card out of the hat next? Because there's nothing else you could go with. You said they, quote unquote, they had proof they stole the election, right? Where's the proof? I'm still waiting for the proof. Where is it? Because with anything, when people were just like this whole thing with Israel and their side saying one thing and they're saying, oh, they're killing babies, and show me the proof. If you could show me proof, then I will say, you know what, I was wrong, because at least you showed me something. But then when you have like for instance, just to pivot off a little bit, some of the hostages were released, and what on the Israeli side they were saying, oh, they did such terrible things, and when the hostages came out, they were like, they treated us very fair. It wasn't like they did anything to us. And I was saying to myself, well, would you look at that? So this whole time you guys were saying a whole bunch of spiel, and they completely said the opposite of what you're saying to everybody in the media outlets. So again, show me proof is the word of the day that I'm going to go with. If you're going to tout that the election was stolen for you to have won, and you can't show me proof as somebody who's willing to vote for you, You're full of crap. Sit down and let the whole process play out. That's all I gotta say.
But not only that, he has like so many lawsuits that occurred about the election being stolen, and none of those lawsuits ended up in a Trump win and this major declaration of, oh my God, look what happened. He is right. None of that happened. It was never proven. All those cases were thrown out of court. I mean, so it's like so many cases they filed, wasting people's time. And the truth is, he was just a fragile cracker, old cracker, that was just butthurt that he lost. And it's embarrassing because you're a big ass man that's just like crying because you lost something. Like, whatever. You're supposed to be a billionaire, you're supposed to be rich. Go live your rich life. I mean, why is this even hurting you like that? When Hillary lost to Trump, she paused for like, I think 6 hours. And the Trump administration came out saying all this stuff. Well, she's delaying and trying to question the legitimacy and blah, blah, blah. She was just checking.
Yeah.
And then I know she had the right to do that. I mean, it was like 6 hours and they were going crazy. It's 3 years, people. 3 years, this guy still refuses to even say it, let alone acknowledge. What are your thoughts, MD?
Man, when she stood up and she started jerking, man, I damn near went downtown myself, man. Hey, leave her alone. You know what I'm saying?
Leave Britney alone.
She almost got me, but for real. So the key thing that she said that I didn't understand. She said, if I knew then what I knew now. You had Georgia and the Secretary of State audited the election 3 times.
Exactly. Three times.
No man has won the election as many times as Joe Biden. I mean, my God.
So they tried to work with you and tried to coordinate an audit and it still won't happen. Now, her charge, I believe it was aiding and abetting.
Yes.
Statements and something like that. Meaning that you were basically co-signing and help drafting certain documents to go against what was being said as far as the audit's concerned. All this stuff gonna go back straight directly to Donald Trump. Don't pay a gold, don't collect $200. It's all for him. Like, he's the star of the show. Because some people think that it don't mean nothing that these people taking a plea deal. Well, what are they taking the plea deals for? They're not taking them in regards to saving their own ass from a big charge, because they got minimum roles. We'll call it minimal. They may not, but we will. Minimum roles in a big conspiracy, and that conspiracy revolves around Donald Trump. You can't get around it.
Yep.
So what I'm telling you is the fact that they took the plea deal, they then automatically put themselves in the testimony seat against Donald Trump. It's as simple as that. How you don't understand that, I don't know. You know what I mean? But again, we're gonna see the house of cards continue to fall. This gonna happen throughout the course of the rest of the year. You're gonna see plea after plea after plea after plea. and eventually it's gonna come to the foundation of the house of cards, which is Trump.
Yep.
And that's when we're gonna see the real primetime event unfold.
I just don't understand how this honest man has all these people that are around him either in jail, been in jail, or going to jail and doing plea deals and asking to be pardoned when he was leaving office. No innocent people need these things. I don't understand what's going on. This is like so cartoony. It don't even feel real. It don't feel real.
But doesn't it show your guilt, though, when you're asking to be pardoned? Just like when Matt Gaetz was asking to be pardoned, and I'm saying to myself, but if you're not guilty of something, why would you be asking President Trump to pardon you, let alone himself as a president asking to be pardoned as well? You can't. It's so laughable just seeing all this manifest itself, and I'm saying to myself, when is the MAGA side when is it gonna click? Like, it's one thing to follow blindly behind the piper blowing the pipe, and you're not seeing in your head. Like, it took some of the people from J6 to be like completely prosecuted for them to be like, oh my God, this whole time I thought he was gonna come and save me, and he didn't help. Like, he didn't help with none of my funds or my cases. What did you really think he was gonna come and save you? Really, you guys were that blindly dumb and dunce to think this man was gonna come and say, you take your hard working money to then give to his campaign when he says he's a billionaire? My golly gosh, that's one of my friends used to say, you couldn't be that dumb. My mom did not raise me to be taking my hard working money that I worked so hard, blood, sweat, and tears for, to then give a man who claims to say he's a billionaire funds to then help his campaign. He has billions of dollars. Why am I taking my hard working money? But then again, you can't force a donkey or a horse to water. It's just, I mean, come on, ridiculous. But like MD says, at this point, the cards are all, it's like a domino effect. One by one, it's just going to all start tumbling down, and it's just going to all lead to him. I'm curious to see how he's going, if they're going to call upon the kids at this point, like Barbie Trump, Ivana. I want to see all of them. I want to hear all their testimonies, including Kushner, as well, because isn't he supposed to be going to the Middle East to help ease all of this tension that we've seen him raise up? Wasn't that under his watch when he was in the Trump administration?
So he's working on it.
So all of this, I want to see all of them come to the forefront and give their testimony and see how they're going to help Daddy here, because I want to see if he's going to turn against them or if it's going to be the opposite way around. I'm waiting for that to come to fruition, but that's all I'm waiting on.
Anything else to add to that, MD?
No, again, I agree with all them points. Like I said, man, it's gonna be a train all the way throughout into 2024. I'm interested to see what people like Giuliani gonna do. And if Giuliani take a plea, it's over. it's over with.
It's guaranteed to happen. It's guaranteed to happen.
Yeah. If Giuliani take a plea, and hell, let him tell it, he ain't got no money anyway. So hell, he might end up taking it. And once he take one, it's over with.
But ain't he divorced? I mean, he was fighting over the remote with the wife. So at this particular point, anything goes, because if you're desperate, desperate times calls for desperate measures, right? So they're willing to do anything not to go to jail. So that plea deal are coming quite handy for a few people, if not most or majority of them. So we'll see.
And he should take the plea. Remember, when he got arraigned, Trump didn't help him with the bail. He had to go to the bail bondsman.
There you go.
He was trying to get the money up. He said he had the money, and I remember all that.
Yep.
You ain't see Trump coming out the bail bond.
Let's not forget that black guy that was just.
Oh yeah. He was in jail for what? A couple of weeks.
Yeah,
he said he's been there for a couple of weeks.
Everybody gone except for this guy. Oh Lord.
Oh God, you guys. But yeah.
All right, so let's keep the show moving. We'll go into lame duck session time. So we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
I started having second thoughts almost the moment I sat down on the plane.
Lights off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Let's go. Ready?
We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
So I changed my return flight and flew back on on the first available flight I could take.
I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced.
I'm tired of being quiet.
I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. With great power comes great responsibility.
Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene apologizing for her comments comparing a COVID restriction to the Holocaust. Members of Atlanta's Jewish community tell our Hope 4 that they appreciate the apology, but it's for future actions that they'll be watching.
And there are words that I have said and remarks that I've made that I know are offensive, and for that I want to apologize.
Might be the first time that the Congresswoman has apologized for anything in her tenure.
In a last-minute press conference, the Georgia representative apologized for comments she made a month earlier. During a May podcast, Greene compared a House floor mask mandate to the Holocaust. She later tweeted comparing vaccination logos to Jewish people being forced to wear a gold star. But after a visit to the Holocaust Museum, Greene said she was reminded of her recently deceased father, who always told her to own her mistakes.
The Holocaust there's nothing comparable to it.
There is no comparison to the Holocaust. The only comparison that one should make about the Holocaust is to the Holocaust itself.
When people do compare it, it truly is so disgusting and disrespectful to those who have perished in the Holocaust.
Cheryl Dorchinsky with Atlanta Israel Coalition and Dove Wilker with the Atlanta Jewish Committee said they were surprised by the apology and hope it's both sincere and an educational moment.
I think what's important is that her followers, her constituents, that they hear the apology and hopefully it changes the way that they view things.
And some members of the Jewish community hope Greene moves beyond words to shine a light on anti-Semitism.
I think apologies are good, but I think actions are more important.
Only time will tell if she truly did learn something.
All right, so after her apology, Greene doubled down on her belief that anyone being forced to wear a mask or get a vaccine is under a type of discrimination that she strongly condemns.
Freshman GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene under fire from critics as an extremist promoter of baseless conspiracy theories.
The generations of Black and Hispanic men, do you want to know what holds them down? Gangs.
We have an Islamic invasion into our government offices. They want to put their hand on the Quran and be sworn in? No.
She suggested the Parkland and Sandy Hook school shootings were false flag operations and that the attacks of 9/11 were staged. She touted conspiracies from the fringe group QAnon.
I just want to say to Nancy Pelosi, she's a hypocrite, she's an anti-American, and we're going to kick that bitch out of Congress.
She's also endorsed executing Democratic lawmakers on Facebook in 2018 and 2019.
Then she recorded herself in this video, confronting the Parkland shooting survivor David Hogg on the streets of D.C.
Why are you supporting red flag gun laws that attack our Second Amendment rights? He's got nothing to say. Sad.
2 years ago, when wildfires were ravaging hundreds of thousands of acres in California and killing 85 people, Marjorie Taylor Greene weighed in from Georgia on Facebook. In a post recently unearthed by Media Matters, Greene theorized a laser beam from space started the deadly 2018 California wildfire. Not just any laser beam from space, but one controlled by wealthy Jewish bankers who wanted to clear land in order to make way for a high-speed rail project. That's right, Congresswoman Greene seems to believe that wealthy Jewish bankers have a secret space laser that can immolate essentially any target on Earth. For those of you keeping score, this means that Greene traffics in anti-Semitism in addition to racism, Islamophobia, and xenophobia.
Do you mind stopping at the cameras? Israel has a right to defend themselves, and they're very capable of doing it. I don't think America needs to be engaged. We shouldn't send troops, and we shouldn't get involved. And frankly, I don't think Israel doesn't want us there, and they're handling their affairs themselves. I think the border that we should care about is our United States border, and we have terrorists coming across our own border right now. So after seeing what Hamas did to innocent Israeli citizens, I think that it's time that this town, Washington, D.C., gets serious about securing our border. What do you need to hear from him on Ukraine? Do you need your commitment that you won't bring Ukraine to the I would love to hear a commitment of everyone in Washington for a path to peace and ending war in the country. Thank you.
All right, there she goes in all her glory. And by the way, this is an elected official. I just want you to know that. Heavily gerrymandered district, but she was elected. And this is Marjorie Taylor Greene for week number 9, the lame duck. MD, what are our thoughts on Marjorie Taylor Greene here?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Old MGT, man. Again, another person between a rock and a hard place with this whole Israel situation, because she was the main proponents of stopping aid when it came to Ukraine. And for the most part, a lot of Republicans went with it. But when it came to Israel, she had a position. And this lets you know that she's so ill-informed that she don't even understand the ideology of her constituents, right? She's so ill-informed that initially she went with the position of not funding Israel. But once you start to get backlash, she hurry up and changed it. That's why that particular story in the front was right on time. She talked all this stuff about everybody called Black Lives Matter, a communist sleeper cell organization, and this, that. She'll talk the Islam ban, and that's what we needed, and all this stuff about the border. But when she went to the people of the book, that's when all hell broke loose. And she hurried up and went on the Chitlin tour to apologize, just like a good little white person, and kept it pushing. Again, I don't think she tried to play a role that I don't necessarily think that she understands, if that makes sense. Especially when it comes to the district that she's representing, which is highly white, highly racist. You know what I'm saying? She tries to put herself in that position, and I don't think she really understands it. If that make any sense at all. Honestly, I don't. A lot of the stuff that Marjorie Taylor Greene say, I don't think that she truly believes.
Right.
And it shows based on the comments that she make when the red light come on the camera, because he constantly doubled down and contradicted herself constantly. The whole thing last week about not last week, a couple of weeks ago, about the McCarthy thing. Oh, hang McCarthy, put him on a stake. Then when the vote come down, well, maybe we shouldn't vote him out, and she voted against it. You was the main person standing on the steps on the U.S. Capitol saying that McCarthy sold y'all out with a backdoor deal with money to Ukraine. You were the main one. And then turn around when the heat get on you, when the vote come down, you vote nay. But everybody else voted yay, so we got him up out of there. Hence the position that we in now. You all over the place. You know what I mean? And like I said, I think it's because you don't truly understand her constituency. She's not. I ain't gonna necessarily say she's not smart enough. She just don't understand it. She's playing a role. At the end, that's me. That's why she's so polarized. She's playing a role. The thing last week, I believe I shared that video with y'all, where she was at the Capitol when the Jewish people was in protesting and calling it the October 18th insurrection. Look at the insurrection that's in the Capitol. It was some Jewish people singing hippie songs and all that stuff. I'm like, come on, like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's MGT. That's MGT.
Peace to Bones in the chat. Peace to Bones. Appreciate you, MD. What do we think, Ricardo, about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
All right, so MTG, what can we say about her? I mean, at this point, nothing that she says surprises me, not the least bit. For me, MD, I'm just gonna say she is not smart at all. I mean, she tries to come. I try to give the benefit of the doubt to this woman, but every single time she speaks, it's like, woman, do you not have advisors around you, or or you just don't care? I think her constituents are really that set of, when I equate her to like, you have a set of people where you're like, oh, you're that type of person. It's how she comes across to me. Like, the set of people that will say the most vilest things. You're like, oh, you're a racist, but you're undercover racist, and you're like, oh, you're that. So you have to be like passive with them. You're like, oh, so you're that type of person. That's how she comes across to me. Nothing she says surprises me anymore, but I would implore her to at least do research before you talk. Like, she just says the stupidest things sometimes, and I'm like, Lord, woman, what do you? And then the same thing MD mentioned too, with the McCarthy situation. She was the first one to jump up and tout. Like, I guess she was trying to make herself look like she was significant, important. She was going to do something great. And as soon as the votes came, she was like, "Oh no, let me tell you something about MTG. She's the first person that I know of that will have everybody on speed dial. I mean, her cell phone has Donald Trump on speed dial. She has McCarthy on speed dial. She has everybody on speed dial. So she has a significant, believe it or not, she does have a significant purpose. As for what that is, I'm not particularly sure in the class that came in. But she really scares me in terms of the group that voted her in, and that's where I'm like, it's kind of like muddled with her. I just hope that she has advisors that can now, if she wants to then make herself look, they come off with a clean slate, just have somebody advise you. Stop talking. I mean, at this point, when she went after the Stoneman Douglas kid, I was saying to myself, like, woman, don't you have any sense? Like, really, you're going after somebody that went through trauma, and you're gonna say a whole bunch of stuff that don't even make sense. Have you ever been through something that traumatic where a person literally was shooting, killing people around? Like, what are you doing? These are the things that I like when people elect people. This is why I want, if there's a part of me, because when I was taking my citizenship to come into to become a citizen of this country, civics is important. I implore every state to at least have civics available for kids growing up or in the school system to learn, because civics is very vital at this particular point. If someone like her can come out of the woodwork and not know what she's talking about politically, it scares me for what is coming up. Civics is very important. I had to learn civics. Everybody who's coming into this country, and MD, you're not really particular about, I shouldn't say that. For the immigrants coming in, if you want to be a citizen of this country, you must learn the civics of how you're going to become a citizen. I think probably I'm more smarter than her when it comes to like anything American history wise, because the things that this woman says, and again, absolute money and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when she said whatever she said about the Jewish people and whatnot, I knew they were going to come after her, and I knew she was going to change her tune quick, because again, we're in a state of censorship. Now you can't even say anything without them coming after you. So if you're not, again, my stance on anything is show me proof. Hers is just, I'm going to speak spiel. So if she's going to speak and then they're going to come after you, and then you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to change my tune, you are spineless, my girl. So stop talking. Make somebody advise you. Make somebody who is smart and sensible, educated, knows facts, knows history, advise you on what to speak on. In fact, let them have an earpiece, and you carry an earpiece as well, and then you just speak whenever they tell you to speak. Stop talking, MTG. You're not that smart. You are very, very dunce to me. Stop talking. That's all I got to tell her. Just stop speaking. Period.
Well, Ricardo, real quick, I would actually disagree if you understood the district that you represent.
I know the district you represent.
The district that you represent is 100% behind Marjorie Taylor Greene. 100%.
Lord.
So again, that's why I say, maybe that's the part that I'm putting more emphasis on toward the way that she acts, not necessarily the constitutional aptitude that she may have. I'm looking at what district she represents.
But that district that district was heavily gerrymandered,
It
and
was. Yeah.
they drew the map in a way that she can't lose.
Well, because she's the 14th district.
Yeah.
Either way you write it, it's still gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Because we talk about deep in the mountains, northwest Georgia.
Lord.
That's the district. Like, go ahead.
That district didn't even exist like 6 years ago. It's a recent.
Because a couple of I think she has part of Cherokee County. Now, Cherokee County is considered quote unquote Metro Atlanta.
Is it?
But they gerrymander it and redline it to a point where it excluded a lot of or not necessarily say exclude, but expand the majority of the white presence within that county. So they wrote it in a way that'll give them advantage. Like I said, again, the way the district is set up, they was gonna have the advantage anyway. We're talking about like Cherokee County. We're talking about Rome, where the great Arthur Anderson was born. It ain't no way you can get any type of parity in that district. It ain't no way. And she's representing that district to the fullest extent. You know what I mean? So I know where it's coming from. That's why I say I don't necessarily say that she's stupid in terms of constitutionality or legislative power. She's representing much like Trump does. She's playing a character. Trust me, she would not be this vocal, not this boisterous, if it wasn't for the particular county that she not the county but district that she represents.
That she represents. But MD, Maya Angelou said it best. If once somebody shows you who they are, believe them. I believe that this is how she acts. This is how she is 24/7. There's nothing about her that, I mean, she's showed her true colors since she was elected in. But that's scary in terms of that fact that you brought up. What in terms of when she showed her true colors and whatnot, when she got elected in, she still, it's scary. All I'm gonna say is, because you're more from Georgia, so you kind of have an idea of the gerrymandering that they've done. I still can't believe that her constituents is part Metro Atlanta, and that's more predominantly more quote unquote more black. So how does her constituents, again, I guess I got to look at it from the statistical point of view. I don't understand how she still got enough votes to then get voted in. But then what do I know? Because I'm not from Georgia. I'm more from Florida. So I would more know about the provisions of Florida. But that's still scary though, MD. The fact that her constituents have that kind of following that will have her in terms of inclination wise, the things that she believed, they believe they're on her side in terms of what she thinks. That's, I don't know. I'm interested to see if and more likely she's gonna get elected back in the future. So it wouldn't surprise me. Nothing.
Oh yeah. She in my opinion, she's gonna be a lifelong. She's gonna be lifelong in the House. That's my opinion.
But is there nobody that can literally kick her out of the position she's in that could really garner?
But she runs unopposed a lot of times, right? She doesn't even have an opponent most times, I don't think.
I think last election, I don't think she had an opponent. I don't think.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, she can't lose.
Yeah. And like I said, again, the dynamics of the state is changing. The district that she was in was once considered like rural in the mountains, deep mountains. You know what I mean? But the dynamics are changing in the sense of density of these places, not density. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, are they is it more like it's a deep red in terms of where she's at in the district, or is it turning purple at this point where it's
no, it's deep red. It's deep red.
Yeah,
it's real deep red. Her district is deep red.
Got you. Because that's where I was trying to figure out, are they turning purple? Because at some point,
no.
Because if they're turning, then that says a lot. But I don't think. But You know, so I just
You went out a little bit, Ricardo.
No, we're saying the constituent she's in is deep red, so she would need a strong opposition or an opponent that would probably counteract her. But I just don't see anybody who would be, in a sense, strong enough to really kick her out. We need somebody that would be like in with the aptitude and the smartness to like literally kick her getting elected again. That's the sad part. In terms of how the politics play out, and it's Georgia, I don't see anybody coming in that could really kick her out.
It's not going to happen.
This type of politics is what makes weak candidates, and weak candidates that just stick around forever. And that's why a lot of problems are here. I mean, is this person really possessed the critical thinking that we need to deal with the issues, the complex issues day in and day out in the Congress? No, she's part of the monkey wrench that kind of slows down the system. And then she puts on a theatrical performance, you know, every week on the news. So this is a problematic situation in American politics. And, you know, until people see it for what it is, you know, there are people that have a vested interest in a Marjorie Taylor Greene because they need that type of politician to, you know, kind of like grind everything to a halt.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And she's not even no good looking white woman.
That's the definition of butch.
Hell, at least Boebert and them look half decent. And you know, Boebert will play with your beat in the theater and stuff. She don't. I can't. You know what I mean?
Man.
Oh God. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, I can't say anything wrong about what MD just said. So hey, it's all good. All right. Anything else on Marjorie Taylor Greene?
No,
that's it.
Lame duck.
No.
All right. All right. So what we're going to do now is go into the State of the Union. It's a real sad story here. So we'll be right back.
Police in Detroit are investigating the death of a popular synagogue president and political activist who was found stabbed outside her home. The attacker is still at large, and NBC's Jesse Kirsch has the latest from Detroit.
Samantha Wohl was the board president of this downtown Detroit synagogue. We still do not know why she was killed. Detroit's police chief asking people to be patient as the investigation continues, stressing no one should be drawing conclusions until facts are reviewed. But Wohl's death comes as federal authorities have a renewed focus on protecting Jewish American, Arab American, and Muslim American communities amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Police say that a female victim was found unresponsive on the ground yesterday and that she was declared dead. Authorities say that investigators discovered a trail of blood leading to the victim's home, and it is believed there she was stabbed multiple times. Michigan's Attorney General says this was Samantha Wohl's, quote, brutal murder. Now, Wohl is being remembered as a kind young leader tied to Democratic politics, and her synagogue wrote, "May her memory be a blessing."
The war overseas raising tensions and fears here at home. DHS officials saying the conflict may increase calls for violence in the United States. There is concern for houses of worship, military assets, and demonstrations. Marchers taking to the streets across the country this weekend. In Brooklyn, a mostly peaceful protest turned violent. More than a dozen people were arrested. Similar rallies were held in Philadelphia and Chicago, as well as this one in Los Angeles. Turning now to the urgent investigation underway in Detroit after the murder of a synagogue president. Police say Samantha Wohl was found stabbed to death outside her home this weekend. Officials say all possible motives are being investigated. Authorities tell ABC News no evidence has surfaced to suggest the killing was motivated by anti-Semitism. ABC's Alex Perche is in Detroit tonight.
Tonight, authorities in Detroit on high alert after the brutal murder of the president of a local synagogue. Detroit police say Samantha Wohl was found around 6:30 a.m. Saturday outside her home. The 40-year-old stabbed multiple times, a trail of blood leading back to her townhouse. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Wohl had led the Isaac Agri Synagogue in downtown Detroit since last year.
I'm just numb at this moment. You know, Sam was such an amazingly kind person. I can't imagine anything like this happening to her.
Late today, Wohl's body laid to rest, her family remembering her as a beautiful soul.
Our world is shattered without you. You brought us light.
And Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, who previously worked with Wohl, writing, Sam truly used her faith and activism to create a better place for everyone.
She really was a genuinely kind, sweet person that touched everyone that she knew.
So far, police have not identified a suspect or possible motive. Detroit's police chief saying in a statement, the investigation into the death of Miss Wohl remains ongoing. At this time, however, no evidence has surfaced suggesting that this crime was motivated by anti-Semitism.
Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer says that her heart breaks for Wohl's family and friends. The FBI and the state police are now assisting Detroit PD in this investigation.
Okay, there we go. Thoughts on the unfortunate murder and possible links to maybe what's going on with Israel or any type of anti-Semite situation. What do you think, Ricardo?
Yeah, just like last week when we had the that neighbor that killed the that 7-year-old because of the rise in tension of what's transpiring in the Middle East. Look, it's one of them things that we got to be careful as a country not getting so hyped up about. I'm not liking the uptick, and we've discussed this in great detail last week of what we think might start occurring. People just let loose and start doing things that they're not supposed to live. It's not that deep, people. Let's not get into the nonsense of the ideology, trying to figure out. It's one of them things where I implore everyone just to do your due diligence and learn and not get manipulated by the media and by the nonsense back and forth of who's right and who's wrong. If you see something where it's like from the perspective of they're doing wrong, you call it out. But you don't need to take up knife and gun and all of this just to prove a point. Like it's a little bit too intense, and we don't want to get into that thing where we start doing this and where we start doing what we did in 9/11, where we literally start blaming Muslim people for everything. And like a point I brought up last week where I was like, if that was to be the case, if you start doing this, then who's to say who's to say you would then start blaming every white person for like what Timothy McVeigh did in Oklahoma City bombing? Like every white person going forward from then is evil. So you can't think along that lines where now we're going to be saying like not every person that's Jewish or not every person that's Muslim or not every person is the same. Everybody has their own differences in how they're going to cope, deal with, or handle how we're going to do going forward. But with this idea that we're just going to take up knives and stabbing people because you don't like somebody who's Jewish or you don't like somebody who's Muslim, or it's a little bit too personal and too deep. Let's not get into this whole religious ideological nonsense. It's a little bit too tense, and that's what we're heading into. It's a little bit too intense, and I blame the media for this again. I implore us as American citizens to try to rise above that kind of mentality where it's just a little bit too. It's almost like a manipulation in a sense, because when you see images of certain things, you kind of like go, oh, well, this person is right, and that it's up to you to know how to differentiate when you're being manipulated in terms of how you're thinking compared to the ideological way of how certain people want you to think. So it's a little bit scary, but I think we can rise above what we're seeing here, but it's still not right. And I will call out both sides and implore both sides, whether you're conservative or liberal, let's not get into this nonsense, because I didn't like how it played out during 9/11 or after 9/11, and I still don't like what I see going forward now, because I'm hearing one side not being fair compared to the other side. Like you're seeing images of kids dying, and then you're saying, "Oh, but they attacked first." Does it make a difference? You're seeing as a father again. I said this last week. As a father of 3, I do not like when I see images of kids dying, and then you're gonna say, "But they attacked first." It doesn't make a difference who attacked first. Somebody is literally dying, and you're seeing in front of you. It's still wrong, and I call it out. And if you can't call it out for what it is, then you have the option of one or two things: voting out the person that you think can make the change, or voting in someone that could do better. And that's all I'm gonna leave it at.
I mean,
Yeah,
well
I
said,
agree.
Ricardo. Well said. Go ahead, MD.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I pretty much agree with everything Ricardo said. Also, you got to take into consideration again, like we was talking earlier. We're talking about ideologies, right? The American ideology is solely focused on Israel. Like that's just what it is. And like I said again, that lets you know we living in a mad world. Most Jewish, especially young to middle aged Jewish people, are highly liberal in America, highly liberal. Yet we tout this conservative image of Israel, and we push it upon the people, and perceive it as something right and just, totally going away from the other aspect of it, which is Palestine. But in any event, again, I agree with what Ricardo said. A lot of it is media. Let's just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? The media pushes a certain narrative, and they try to tiptoe through the tulips, a tightrope, when stuff like this happens. Like I said, again, we don't know what motivation this murder was. We just don't know. But because the media has an obligation to create a narrative, they'll sprinkle a little bit of allegation in there, which this article did. This news story did. It's gonna continue to happen. Like I said, y'all might well get ready for it. I already know what's gonna happen, and until a true resolution comes from that conflict, whether it be peace or total annihilation, it's gonna continue to happen. And not just here, but worldwide. I saw another report where it was a guy that got caught, and I guess he was driving somewhere and he got caught. He was supposed to be going to a pro-Palestinian parade and was going to mow everybody down in his truck. I believe that was Michigan where that happened in as well. Like these people are crazy.
Yep.
These. I guess he had like a manifesto and some stuff in the car, and that's how they got it. So yeah, these people are crazy because they rooted in the ideology of what America's supposed to be in terms of that whole conflict. We are looked at as the harbingers of Israel. Let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? And that's a highly conservative, not knowing any drawback or any reasoning behind the rhyme. Just because America say that's what it is, a conservative mindset is gonna go with it, hook, line, and sinker. And that's the issue that we got to get away from. Again, when you talk about America first, Republicans and MAGA and stuff like that, then turn around and push away Ukraine. But when Israel get hit, it's all about Israel. How oxymoronic is that? I thought we was America first, but it's not America. It's not an America first agenda. It's what America tells you is first and foremost as far as an agenda, and that's what we got to get away from. So the killings going to continue to happen. The retaliations are going to continue to happen, not just in the U.S., but everywhere in the world, because there's a sentiment of Israel they supposed to exist based on an ideology.
Don't you find it, MD, Ricardo, how quickly those funds can just materialize for, months ago, this wasn't even on our radar, and boom, it hit. It almost feels like they were waiting or whatever. I don't know, but it's just amazing how they're doing what 100 billion
Yes,
for Israel. And could you imagine what that 100 billion could do to a situation like in San Francisco, where you have all these homeless people all around? Like, it's just homelessness everywhere. Oakland, California, Portland, Philadelphia, friggin' West Virginia, Kentucky. I mean, there are some places that are like just permeating with poverty. And the fact that those funds just unopposed, just the only thing stopping the money from flying even quicker is the fact that we don't have a House Speaker right now. And to me, it just says they are very comfortable with the conditions in how a lot, not just black, even, I mean, that's the thing. We get into black, and we know black people get stepped on all the time, but it's also other white people too. There's poor white people, and there's more poor white people than I feel than black poor white people. But it's just, why the hell? They just feel very comfortable with that condition. The lack of schools, the lack of books, the lack of resources, the lack of food, the lack of all these things that you need, the basic necessities in life that you need. They're very comfortable with a certain segment of the population having to do without. And if the money was always there, and let's say this Israel thing didn't happen, the money clearly is there to deal with these issues, and they refuse to do that. So I don't know what you guys
I disagree,
think about
Venkat. I disagree. We had this discussion last week.
Go ahead.
And remember what Biden and this was verified by Biden pretty much in that speech. What was that, Thursday?
Yeah.
He said, and you know, don't quote quote me, but he said that the money that was being sent to Israel. Well, no, he didn't say the money was being sent to Israel. He said we were sending equipment and armaments to Israel. The money was to replenish our stockpiles. You remember him saying that?
Right. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. That goes back to what I was telling you last week about how the Federal Reserve works when it comes to the defense budget. Biden is a cunning white man. Basically, what he said was the money that's being appropriated in that emergency budget is to replenish our stock, meaning that the way that the Federal Reserve is going to look at that as being part of the defense budget, i.e., we don't have to pay that money back. So when you say getting the money, where are we getting the money from? They're getting it from the Federal Reserve in terms of a defense allocation. That's different from regular money. So the way he's playing it to increase the federal defense budget. It happens every year.
But the defense budget is extremely bloated, MD, already.
I agree. You're not gonna get no argument from me. I agree with what you're saying, but I'm just letting you know how they're doing it, and this is how they increase the budget every year. That's all I wanted to say.
So I just want to respond to Trevor there. So I guess I'm socialist when the money goes to Americans in need, but I'm not socialist when it goes overseas. Got it.
Venkat an American first communist. That's what he is.
What are your thoughts there, Ricardo?
I mean, just like we touted like a couple weeks back, capitalism will always be the main thing here. When it comes to, I think I put in the chat, the United States of America, that is the largest predominant Christian country in the world. In terms of the population that we have, I think we have 400 and something million people that live here. And we have to be aligned with Israel. And when you look at it, we have no choice. But we're playing the game of brinksmanship here. The enemy of my enemy is my best friend. You still have to be close to Israel's, I wouldn't say enemies, but I would say their closest inclined countries that are around in terms of neighbors wise. And the United States has to walk on eggshells and navigate very carefully in terms of being the predominant world power. It has the kind of logic that we have to go with is that we have to keep them all appeased without it being conflicting, because once one person is unhappy, it sets off a domino effect. And that's the reason why we have to be aligned with Israel, because they consistently will feel like they're by themselves in a predominant Muslim surrounded area. So any way you look at it, we will always be and speaking of we, or speaking as the United States, have to be consistently be meddling in world affairs, because that's what we did. We took over from Great Britain or the United Kingdom and started a certain world dominance, or our industrial way of thinking military wise. So, or is it manifest destiny? You'll say, MD. I'm not even sure what the right word is when it comes to the way we think for world alignment. But again, when it comes to Israel and it comes to funds and it's all a capitalistic play. We still need them because they spend the billions of dollars, which comes back into our economy and GDP. So in terms of the Iron Dome, in terms of the military planes that they're using, in terms of the equipment, in terms of the missiles, in terms of all that, it comes from where? Us, the United States. It doesn't come from anywhere else. When they get angry and they feel that they're being hunched out, they're going to go to somebody else, and that's not what the United States want. They want all that money coming to us. So anyway you look at it, we can't separate, we can't move away from them. And I agree with MD. They are more so, a lot of times, I feel like, and I never understood how that notion came into being, is why Israel feel like they're conservative. They're more liberal in terms of how they think. And it's always an issue for me when they always tout the conservative card. You're not
But
really conservative.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Wakota, but isn't it because the leadership is more conservative? That's
True.
why people. I mean,
but the people don't even like Netanyahu.
I get.
He's like a dictator at this point, and he always came across as a dictator. He's doing things that they always call out. Like I believe he has an issue. There's a couple of litigation, just like Trump has a lot of litigation cases against him. Netanyahu has the same exact issue. In fact, there was one I remember with his son committing some crime, and it wasn't even like a petty crime. It was a very intense kind of crime, and he pardoned something which he's not supposed to do by their constitution. So anyone who's speaking out as an opposition against him, he finds ways. So he's kind of like, in a way, a dictator if you think about it, and they're not really pleased with it. But at the same length and breath, are they going to go against someone when they're being attacked? They can't then go, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a tough position to be in as a citizen of Israel, not following behind the leader. But at the same time, like I've been saying, if you know your leader is wrong, or anybody that you know of is wrong, and they're in the position, you're in the position to tell them that they're wrong, tell them. I mean, you have a significant obligation to do so. I just find it kind of sad that we're doing this kind of tit for toe nonsense. When it came to Ukraine, we're all all up in arms, and oh my God, Russia is doing all these disgusting things. But then Israel does it, and it's like, we're just gonna wait until no. Call it out for what it is. If you, and I've said this from last week, you know it's bad when China interjects and says, "Listen, Israel, you can't do that. You can't be doing certain things. It's genocide." For me, that was very telling, because I've never heard China interject and say anything other than when it comes to like their affairs, or when they're trying to like spread their agenda or go over in the Pacific and take over these islands. For them to say, Israel, you're wrong, it says a lot. So for me, if nobody else should be calling out Israel for what they're doing now, it should be the United States. But again, it's conflict of interest, because the funding, most of the military things that comes from this country. So to lose that position is going to be like taking billions of dollars from out of our pockets, which the politicians are not going to do. Let's call it for what it is. They're not going to do it. They're not going to lose that much billions. Plus, we share military reconnaissance with them. So at the same breath, I don't understand how we meddle so much, but then we can't walk the tone line careful, because the same military equipment is also going to Saudi Arabia, which then killed one of our citizens or permanent residents. And we've yet to solve that case, and yet to call out their leadership in Saudi Arabia. So again, we're all interjected in all these things in the Middle East, but we have to walk a very fine tone line on eggshells, because The minute we do something wrong, they're going to call it out, and the United States can't afford to lose any one of these neighbors for obvious reasons. So it's kind of, Venkat, I hate to say it, capitalism rules here. But is it socialism, though, for us, the citizens, to then say, you're taking $100 billion to give aid to these countries? Nothing wrong with that, but keep it in our backyard because we need the help more. This country needs the help. We need to help our citizens that are in dire need here. But then they're like, oh, but if we don't do this now, who's to say years from now it's going to be an issue? I don't care. I mean, if it means you send me $2,000 this Thanksgiving and it helps boom our economy, so be it. But that's me being selfish, right? So what do I know as a U.S. citizen? I'm just
Think of it this way, Venkat. You got to remember, per capita, even though Israel is little, per capita is one of the gayest countries in the world. You know, they got the largest gay parade in the world. So they
Never
very
knew
little.
that. I never knew that.
Yeah, per capita now they the gayest country in the world. But again, like I said, they very liberal. They don't rock with a lot of the policies that Netanyahu got. But it's just like 9/11. When 9/11 happened, we all was ready to fight. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's that type of situation. That's what we're dealing with. At the end of the day, Israel is a proxy state. That's all it's there for. You know, and we gonna defend them tooth and nail for them to keep that position. That's what it comes down to.
Yes, we will.
Anybody want to answer Maria G here? Why is Israel our biggest ally?
Do you want to answer for MD?
Well, I mean, again, it's all about perspective. In the perspective of us as regular American citizens, is more of a conservative ideology that Israel's supposed to be there. But that's not why they did it. They did it to be a proxy state of the Middle East, be a buffer state. Just like, in my opinion, they doing with Ukraine. Ukraine is being funded to be on the heel of that Eastern ideology.
Democrat.
Same, right. The same with Israel. Israel is there to be a buffer to that Middle West. I mean that Middle East good oil. And before all this happened, they Saudi Arabia and Israel were about to get in bed.
Yes, they were.
And we was gonna have the biggest boom in terms of oil capture that we've ever seen. We was gonna benefit from that too, by the way. We right.
Thank you for bringing that up because I think we all forgot about that too. They started flying for the first from Saudi Arabia to Israel. That was never done before. So there was a whole bunch of gains that would have came about from the alliance that was starting to come about from Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the other neighbors around. But for some reason now, I don't know. I think they had to cancel all of that out. So in the end, it affects us. Again, it falls back to what I've been saying. Capitalism runs rampant here. Whether or not you like it or not, as U.S. citizens, we might not like it, but we, as a country, with the military complex that we have, we invest heavily in this region. So when it comes to the machinery, when it comes to the missiles, when it comes to the aircraft, everything comes from where? This country. This country cannot afford to lose certain people in terms of beneficial reasons. We can't afford to lose it because that money then goes to somewhere else. So our economy, GDP, is tied to the military complex that we have, but we still fund and assist these countries. The enemy of my enemy is who? My best friend. So the game of brinksmanship will always be in the favor of the United States because they have to walk a fine-tune line of the neighbors. Jordan, we have to walk the fine line of Lebanon, the fine line of everywhere else around that region, Egypt. We still fund everything that they do, but at the same time, losing them will then cost us dearly. So that's why I think, and I'm trying to articulate that in such a way that you understand, Maria G, is that we're embedded with them so much we can't afford to lose them, period. So as a buffer zone that Israel is, in terms of going in when it was created as a state in 1944, when Great Britain and the other League of Nations decided to create a state for Israel, it was a buffer zone, and they can't afford to lose Israel because Israel, as it is, feels like it's isolated in a predominantly Muslim region. So whether or not we like it, if they call upon us to be their aid, we have to aid them. That's just how it works. It's just the military complex that we have. It's what we have to do. It sucks, but that's where we're at. This is just how it is.
Right. And I right. And I agree with you, Maria. You know, we should change it. And, you know, but because of the interest of certain resources, it's not going to happen. Remember, after World War One, the whole thing with Britain and the colonized Arab states at that particular time, they basically lied to the Palestinians what they did.
And that was the sad part.
Right. You breaking up, Ricardo.
No, I said that was the sad part. They did lie to them because the way they came and approached it when they did the League of Nations for afterward, they were doing the Zionistic approach. They literally came in and said, "Oh, you know, we're just gonna put them here, and y'all gonna be working together hand in hand and be neighbors and whatnot." That's not the case here. You literally push them out. You're starting to push the people that have already settled there for years, and then you created two buffer zones. One is the Gaza Strip, and the other one was the West Bank. So slowly that state started. What Palestine was compared to what it is now is completely shriveled up. So I don't even know if Palestine is still there in terms of what we see geologically, but is it going to be that much longer? We're seeing the peace going. I don't know, and that's where it comes to the conflict of interest now, because you have Iran, and then you have Lebanon, and then you have Jordan, Egypt. They're not going to sit there and allow Israel to do. It's going to, at some point in time, one's going to have to say, "Listen, Israel, you're going to have to either stop or," because once they start riling up, it's pretty much that's a done deal. That there's going to be retaliation, and we don't know what that retaliation is. And we keep hearing Iran every week say, "Your time is coming." I don't know what that means, honestly, but it's a little bit daunting to think what they could do. And Iran is in bed with who? Russia. And then you don't want to get, so it's all an alliance here. And each week we go by, it creates another powder keg situation that I don't want happening. I can't speak for everybody else, but we have to learn from previous wars beforehand, which was how World War I started. It was started by an alliance that then, you know, went into something else, and then we have World War II. We don't need World War. We don't.
But remember though, Ricardo, the Palestinians helped Britain fight the Ottoman Empire in that same land, helped them fight it.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
And then you turn around and stab them in the back with the damn the Zionist regime that started the whole thing. Then World War II, it just went downhill.
Yeah, history is one heck of a thing.
All right. So at this point, we're winding down towards the end of the show. We have one video left, and that is the nightcap video. So we'll get into that right now, and then we'll say our final words at the other end.
Donald Trump gave a campaign speech in New Hampshire yesterday. And let's just say, in all seriousness, by the way, this is not a joke. If Joe Biden had said the things that Trump said, most Republicans would be calling for him to be put in an old age home.
I'm for us. I'm for us. You know how you spell us, right? You spell us, U.S. I just picked that up. Has anyone ever thought of that? I just picked that up. A couple of days I'm reading and it said us. And I said, you know, if you think about it, us equals U.S. We had that all set to go, but then we had a little election that went astray. So we have to be careful. You got to get out there and you got to watch those voters. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes. You got to watch election night. You know, it used to be election day, election night. Now it's election month. Now it's election period. Some of these things going for 53 days. It's terrible. Viktor Orban. Did anyone ever hear of him? He's probably like one of the strongest leaders anywhere in the world. And he's the leader of, right? He's the leader of Turkey.
Yeah. Willie, first of all, I just picked that up. Us in U.S. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Don't worry about voting. Secondly. Third, Orban, of course, maybe he's never even visited Turkey. I don't know. Maybe the leader of Hungary has visited. But it's troubling to me. He calls Orban one of the strongest leaders and says it in a wonderful way. Orban, of course, is the person who shut down all of his opponents. Politically, he's tapped reporters' phones.
I would add in, Joe, to the collection of comments that he made yesterday. He compared himself to Nelson Mandela, who, of course, spent nearly 30 years in prison for fighting apartheid in South Africa, saying if he goes to jail, he's happy to be just like Mandela. Also promised in his next term to build, like Israel, an iron dome over the United States. Israel, of course, is the size of New Jersey, so that would be a heck of a project for the United States to undertake.
All right, there we go. Donald Trump. His argument against Biden was the erratic gaffes and old man syndrome, Mr. Magoo. And here we got Donald Trump, pretty much having the same types of issues as he was ragging on Biden for. What are our thoughts on this, MD? And then Ricardo after.
Yeah, I saw that when he was talking about, man. He said, yeah, you just picked that up. That helps the U.S. That's funny, man. But yeah, I mean, again, Trump is going to play his role. People going to eat it up. Erdogan, I kind of, I would say Erdogan and Trump is pretty much the same. And Erdogan from Hungary. They all want to be dictators at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Erdogan, he screwed with his election and made it to where nobody could campaign on TV and all. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? But again, when we talk about just cognitive aptitude with both of them, I say give them the both up out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. I never thought that we would get to a point where we talking about two damn near 80-year-old people vowing for the presidency of the United States and being serious about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but that's established politics at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Until things happen, like I said, once conservatism dies, once liberal bloc establishment dies, then we'll start to see a change. But until then, until we can get these people up out of here, that's what it is. You know what I mean? Hell, it may not happen in our lifetime. But hey, hopefully we can get to a point where we can get some sensible, well-maintained people in legislative bodies that can do good for America at the end of the day.
All right,
That's all I got.
All right, Ricardo, what are your thoughts?
All right, so Mike is say something in the chat where he's like, you couldn't build a wall, now you're gonna try to build a dome. I say the same thing as well. You trying to build listen, Trump, listen, we have NORAD, okay? We don't need and we have tons of ballistic missiles, as much as the citizens of the United States don't want to believe it. When we started the Cold War, there's a bunch, even though they claim they got rid of so many, there's still a whole bunch set up all over this damn place. So the airspace over the United States or North America, because it's actually Canada, the United States, that have NORAD in terms of being in Cheyenne, Colorado. There's a ton of things that we have. So we don't really need an Iron Dome per se. It's not, I could understand if it was a situation where it's like dire, but we don't really need an Iron Dome. We have way too much stuff that could facilitate blocking any missiles coming into this country. So whether or not we want to believe it or not, yes, we do. We have that much technology, that much nuclear missiles set up that if Russia even tries, they have powerful nuclear arms that we been known
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I was about to say, Ricardo, I don't know.
Yeah, they have powerful, like you've seen the bomb. Is it what do you call that bomb that they let over
the,
Siberia?
the ICBMs.
Yeah, that one. They have a ton of missiles that it really do damage, but we also have the same. So we don't really need. I mean, yeah, I get what he's saying, but at the same length of breath, just to wrap it up, Trump is always going to Trump. I mean, he's going to say things. I mean, we know his MO at this particular point. Are we that surprised? But what I am surprised about is the fact that he went on this whole spiel that, Biden is senile. He's getting old. He's too old. He shouldn't be president because, Lord forbid, he's such and such. And yet you're doing the same exact thing, which I find ironic, that you're claiming that Biden was doing. So you're both old. Whether or not you want to accept it, again, I said this from earlier in the show, you are in the same age bracket as Joe Biden is. You're both old. In fact, this is just sad for me to even hear. We should have a president that's going into like the 40s here, not the 70s. But what do I know? At this particular point, I can only hope for the best. As an independent voter, I'm gonna need both liberal and conservative sides to think about what's going into the election year. With both of them being so old, because I'm call me an ageist, whatever you want. I need a competent leader of this country to lead this country carefully going forward. I cannot afford, as a voter, to pick somebody. And again, it's hard for me because I'm seeing Biden do a whole bunch of stuff now where I'm like, I don't know if I could vote for him again, because it's tough when I see all these things and these images from one side, and yet nobody's calling out what the Israelis are doing on the other. It's kind of tough. And at the same time, I don't know if I could vote for Trump. So then where do you leave me as a voter? I don't know. This is tough and it's hard. But in MD's case, you said, I think I'm going to vote for Trump. I can't do that. In good consciousness, I can't do it. And I still can't. Now what I've seen, what has happened in the past couple of weeks, can't vote for Biden either. So where is the third person? And I've always said this country needs a third party, because in cases like this, when both old
RFK.
He said RFK. I don't know. In the case like this, where we don't have that much options, who are we going to pick as independent voters who are probably make up the majority of the voting bloc? What options do you give us? Like, I need a libertarian. I need somebody to come out of the woodwork right now and say, listen, I'm a choice, because the field that I'm seeing, I'm not pleased by either one, either from both sides, from either the conservative or from the liberal sides. So I need this country to now analyze and think, okay, do we need a third party? But then if you create a third party, then the logic is that you're going to kill one of the sides, which we've always had. When one party dies, another one springs out of the woodwork and becomes the populist one. So do we need a conservative liberal party? Do we need a liberal conservative party? Do we need, are we going to be a purple party? I need something that would be in the middle to then facilitate the independent voters, because I'm not pleased by either one of the sides that I'm seeing at. But then I still have to make a choice, because what everybody's going to tell me, what MD is going to tell me, what Venkat is going to tell me is, you as a diligent voter have to still make a choice. You still have to pick somebody. So whether or not you like
That's
it or not,
right. That's right.
good or bad, you still have to pick someone to vote for. That's your constitutional diligence. So it's tough and it's sad to see, but yeah, I hate to call the kettle boiling over here. Trump, you're now looking senile. That's all I'm gonna leave it at. I mean, you do look. You're talking about this whole Brandon thing. Yeah, you're looking senile, buddy. So you're all in the same boat, and I'm not pleased. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. So we wind it down to the end of the show. So right now we'll give our last words. We'll start with MD.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, good show, fellas. Again, going back to the original main topic, we're seeing something that we really haven't seen like in the history of this country with the divide of the party. Right? We have to focus more on from now. I'm talking about on a federal level, not a local or a state. On a federal level, we have to focus more on the policy that best suits your individual normalities in the country. That's one of the reasons I say if it all comes back down to that again, I will vote for Trump. Based on the fact that he has a policy put in place to get rid of the falsehood of asylum seekers and illegal immigration and all that. That's it. Hell, I don't give a damn who got that policy. I'll vote for him just off that alone. Trump happens to be that person, so there I go. But again, we have to get out of this this situation where we're splitting based off extreme right versus moderate in the Republican Party. We're seeing the processes break down because of it. At the end of the day, you're going to have to focus on the main policies, the main core of the ideology, and stick with that. We got to get rid of this whole uber conservative ideology that's separating the moderates and the extremists, right? Because this is going to continue to happen. Like I said again, we're not going to have a government in place come time for the shutdown. It's not going to happen because they can't get their head out of their collective asses when it comes to the ideology. And that's all I got to say on that.
But just to push back a little bit, MD, the conservative side, Donald Trump is not conservative though. So how is it that if you're going to speak to again an independent voter who's either on or probably in the center of it, you can't pick somebody who is not, that doesn't have strong conservative values. And Donald Trump was never conservative. He's liberal in terms of how he thinks. So
I agree.
That's a hard position to, like, for me, I would say I'm probably more staunch, I would say probably in the middle more, but probably more staunch conservative. He doesn't have any of, and again, the ideological ideology that you're stating here, it's tough to separate it because we're so institutionalized. There's no way you could separate it at this point. But again, how is it that the conservative bloc is going to pick a liberal leaning man to lead them when he has none of their conservative policies in place? It's tough. He doesn't think like a conservative, so therefore you're putting him in is like an oxymoron. I that's the struggle that I have. Like, I can't vote for him. With that being stated, though, he did do some things that you probably might call socialist, if you might talk in that point. Like he did give the stimulus checks. Isn't that kind of in a sense a socialist move in a sense, because you're giving stimulus checks to almost every citizen if they were able to get it in their hands?
$600.
Right.
It's $600.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I would look at that more as a fiscal responsibility than anything. Yeah, it was a socialist move,
right?
But we talking about in terms of fiscal crisis. So I get what you're saying, but when I say conservative, it's not necessarily about him and what he does. It's about how the populace, i.e., MAGA, views him. You can't tell Billy Joe, Trump ain't conservative.
I agree with you on that point. I can't tell that, but it's just in a and again, it's a struggle for me, because if I'm a conservative, I'm thinking like, if I'm a conservative voter here, why would I put somebody who is a liberal thinking man as the person behind the forefront of my conservative policies? He has no conservative values, none.
He has no policies.
But Ricardo, you got to understand though, conservative, and this is why I said conservative is dead. They oxymoronic in and of itself. Let for example, the abortion ban. That's a very conservative ideology. Yet it's oxymoronic because being conservative is supposed to mean less government, and you want to nationalize banning abortion. And that don't make any sense.
True, I agree with you on that point.
So it's all
anti-freedom right there.
Anti-freedom. I'm glad you realized that, Venkat. So it's all stupid. At the end of the day, it's all dumb.
And
That's why, because the Republican Party is dead. They dead.
It is. But my question is, what's going to replace that party now? Because throughout history, we've always seen a party die. We have always seen some format of a party die, and then another one springs up, and that's the part that we see now. Like the Dixiecrats came about from what we seen back then to now the current the differentiation of the DNC that we see now. So you're kind of seeing like the end of the GOP. I'm not quite sure what's going to come about from that. Is it going to be a conservative liberal side? And just to answer Maria G's question, no, I don't think every Republican is conservative. There's no way you could think that. It's just like there's some Republicans that are what's the
moderate. Moderate.
There you go. So not everybody in the Republican Party is conservative, Maria G. I don't believe that. But what I'm saying is
McCarthy wasn't conservative. You saw what happened to him.
No, but that's again another point. It's just like it's so oxymoronic what we're seeing here, and nobody. It's tough. It's tough, MD, because again, it's one of them things where you're like, okay, so if the ideology is not gonna fade away. It's one of them things where it's either you're for or you're against. I just don't see it going either way. It's just one of them things where you have to launch, and it's gonna pan out whatever you look at it or whatever perception you see it as. It's gonna be always ideological because you need a strong conservative value placement for something to believe in. So. And it's still oxymoronic because there's still you have the group that's gonna for Trump, who's liberal, to then win. I can't, if I'm a conservative, can't vote for him. There's no way. And then it doesn't help with, I'm not saying that on the other side that Biden's in it because he's not really doing anything that's making me happy right now. You're supporting the side that's killing people, and yet you refuse to call them out on it. I can't vote for you on that one thing that's perturbing me right now. So then who is there to fill the void? Is libertarians gonna step up? Like I've yet to hear a libertarian come out of the woodwork and say, I'm a libertarian here. Hey, we're over here. Like, are they terrified? Are they scared to come about? Or it's just that America's moved past the libertarian forefront? But that's my other issue. So where are the other fringe parts or portions of the political sides that need to interject themselves where we could see them say, all right, I might vote for you, but that you have a voice, I could then go for you. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's gonna be hard going into the election year. I need either I'm for or against, but I still need to make a choice. And again, if it leads up to you guys asking the question, who would I vote for? I don't know. You said MD you'll vote for Trump again based on the policy that you're looking for him to push. But then what about someone like myself that's like, one of them is good? So I'm gonna put my vote on the merits of just vote for somebody.
You're breaking up there, Ricardo.
No, it's saying that it's based on what I'm seeing. I don't know what option or what's the best option to pick at this point if I'm going to vote going into the election year. There's neither one of them are great, but then I still have to make a choice. And I feel like I'm going to waste the vote because it's going to be ideological. Whether or not we like it, MD, or not, it's still going to be ideological. It sucks, but it's just a part of the politics identity that this country has groomed us to be like.
So we're only in this situation due to the lack of actions in the primaries before. That's why we're in this situation now. Joe Biden was at one point when he was running initially, he was his campaign was in a bad place, and then I forgot the guy's name. This black Democrat, he kind of like got the black vote behind him, and then it kind of turned around his whole campaign. But if we would have called him out,
Stacey Abrams skyrocketed that.
Well, she added to it as well. But the decisions are made very early on, and now you have to. That's the decision that we all went along with. It's just ridiculous. I mean, you had Bernie Sanders. He was there. He was a viable option. And some people just felt like, okay, he may not be able to fully get there. I think if Bernie went up against Trump back then, 2016 or 2020, he would have won both times. But
Hold on now, wait a minute, Venkat. Now Bernie Sanders just as decrepit as Biden is.
hey, look,
You
I
gonna
get
do it
what
like
you're saying. I get what you're saying there. But between the three, if Bernie Sanders was a third candidate, you can't tell me that he wouldn't be the most attractive for the whole country in general. Nobody wants. That's the thing. Nobody wants what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump has a lot of baggage. Whether you're a fan of him or not, whether you're a MAGA or not, you cannot dispute the fact that there's a lot of unnecessary garbage and baggage. You claim you like his policies, which he has done, but you claim you like his policies in general, Republicans do. But you cannot say that, oh, him getting indicted 4 times. It's just adding to the whole prestige of everything. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't make sense. You would want, that's why they wanted DeSantis, because he was supposedly a Trump without the baggage, which he's not. He's just playing a role. DeSantis isn't really that. He's just trying to make his image that. But I'm just saying, between Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and if you inserted Bernie Sanders, all three are old for sure, but Bernie Sanders would be the one that would resonate more with people. But he can't get past the DNC rigging the damn election against him. But whatever, whatever. I just don't. I don't feel like there's a chance in hell that Biden or Trump would beat Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. You're going to be splitting the vote apart because that's the same issue we had with the Democratic votes the last time when Bernie was in the race. It was his voters that were like, well, no, there's no way we're going to vote, and he had to interject and say, yeah, if you guys don't vote, then you're wasting the vote. So on the Democratic side, we kind of need you. So I don't know if it's tough with Bernie being there. Yeah, in some ways you're right, Venkat, but he's also polarizing as well, so it becomes a difficult thing because I remember the conservative side was not happy with Bernie at all.
I
So
don't really care what the conservative side has to say, to be honest, and I don't really understand why people act like being conservative is some kind of good moniker or title.
it is,
Like
but they are
it's not. It's not.
they
It's really not. But what I'm saying is that whatever perceived baggage that Bernie would have, he has a hell of a definitive track record. You can go back and watch old clips from the 80s and where his position was on civil rights, on different things that pertain to us. As far as healthcare, I would trust Bernie more than I would Trump. Trump is the guy that said, who would think that healthcare was this difficult? Like, you can't be serious, dude. You're sitting in the chair of the presidency and you're not getting the ginormous gravity of the job that's ahead of you. So he promised something better than Obamacare. We didn't get it.
we didn't
I'm
get
just
it,
saying.
and you're not
We didn't- huh?
you're not going to because it's the healthcare industry here is so complex. It's difficult. If the politicians in this country were really smart, they would look to somewhere like Singapore and use that as a template to building out the healthcare system here. But again,
Right.
people argue that Singapore is smaller in terms of how the United States is, but in terms of the template of using Singapore as a healthcare system, it might actually help because you could have a capitalistic side, also have the public option where you could help people who are in dire need of help for healthcare wise here. But that's never going to happen because the pharmaceuticals are so embedded with the politicians. It's just very complex and difficult to navigate. Yeah. And this is why I've always said this country should have pushed for universal healthcare with a public option if that was such a big issue. But again, the other side didn't want the public option. So therefore, what we got was a pushed out agenda where everybody complained and then they were trying to get rid of it on Trump's administration side. They knew damn well they couldn't because of
Right.
what was implemented in the bill.
60 times they wasted taxpayers' money to to try to repeal it when they know they didn't have the power to do it. But they
Yeah.
did a spectacle to, whatever. I mean, this is political theater.
Yep. Try to ride up the base and it didn't do nothing. So
Right. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that are going to happen. So we just got to see how it pans out. MD said that his headphones went out, but we're about to wrap up the show anyway. Anybody that you want to give a shout out to? Any late breaking news or information you want to say as we get ready to sign off here?
No, not really. Just shout out to the chat. Thank God we didn't get the thumpers marching on with their knives tonight. Leave Mr. Beard alone. He doesn't care for y'all. He has
Mr. Beard.
And go have some despicable, filthy sex if you can, and just forget about it. He's so unbothered by y'all. Like y'all just adding fuel to the fire. Shout out to the others. Mike, you're in the chat. Maria G, we're gonna be combative. At some point in time, we'll love for you to come on the panel and see something, because I feel like
She should come on up, man. She should.
So opinionated. I love it. Bones, shout out to Eddie Israel, Mr. Straight Talk himself, Tequila, MD, Free MD 20. We're still going to tout that until the very end of the year. We're going to free you, MD. We need you to be free. Venkat, we love you for being a moderator and pushing out or like having 4 strong Black men speak their political views and not be like so combative. We just speak our views and our viewpoints and just say what we need to say and have a voice and still be able to like communicate without being like very like all what you're expecting of us, and that's not what we are, you know what I mean? So shout out to Tape Fist Politics and or followers that are out there, and just great show, and look forward to next week.
That's right. We appreciate you on here, Ricardo. As always, excellent commentary. Got to shout out MD, the great MD. Appreciate you on the show. Got to shout out Mike. Mike, what's up? We're going to be trying to do a basketball show, but that'll be down the road, and we'll hook that up later on. So peace out to Mike. Peace out to Tequila. I got to say that every week. She's just amazing. Shout out to Maria G for sure. And shout out to Eddie Israel being in the chat. That was awesome. Look forward to having more eyeballs on the show, and hopefully you'll join us as the weeks and months come by. I'd like to thank everyone affiliated. Of course, Mr. Straight Talk, Trevor. Peace out to Trevor. Awesome. And before we leave, just want to say this is the most dangerous panel in all of politics. This is Tape Fist Politics, TFP. Peace, everybody. Good night.
Peace on up.
She just said a terrible thing. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to. Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said, I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's. That's terrible. Terrible.
William Zilla, Jet Phelps, Kelly Boots, and then also some other creators.